Hello and a very good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Stand Up for Yourself. I've been away for a while. Too many things have been happening, and I had to take a break from the show. I think the last show was in November. I think I didn't manage to have anyone on the show in December. Crazy month, crazy way to end the year for me as well. But today we're back with the ninth episode, and we are joined by Anish Daya all the way from Canada. Welcome, welcome to the show, Anish. How are you?
Good. Hello, Iman.
Oh wow,
Hello. Woo. It's a little bit of
that's
artistic
cool. That's
power here.
cool.
I don't know if you can see that.
That's
There you go.
cool.
All right.
Thank you
There you
so
go.
much. Thank you so much for joining us. I understand that it's what 8:30 in the morning where you are. It's 9:30 where we are in the evening. So let's hope for a great show. Let's hope that we will leave people going to bed in Malaysia, at least, or in Asia, with a lot of ideas and a lot of new strategies on how they could learn English. And just a very quick overview of what Stand Up for Yourself is about. It's really a show to inspire people who want to learn English as a second or a third language, doesn't matter, just to inspire them on what it takes and what they can do to learn the language, and that it's not really that difficult. So if there's any fear, if there's any doubt about learning the language, so here we have, I feature guests who can help share strategies and tools and just advice on how anyone can learn the language, no matter whether you speak it as a first, second, third, fourth language, whatever it is. Okay, so we're gonna get straight to it. Um, I would like to welcome our viewers. If you are joining us today from either Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, please drop us a hello. Let us know where you're from. Let us know that you can hear us loud and clear. And while they do that, Anesh, why don't you start by telling us a bit about yourself? Who is Anesh?
Okay.
What do you do? Yes.
Hello, everybody. This is Anish from On the Spot Language, and I have been called many things, whether it be Indian, South African, Canadian. But first and foremost, I am, as I told Iman earlier in our pre chat, I am a global citizen. And I also like to call myself an edupreneur, a language coach, a father, a lifelong supportive partner, and great son to my lovely mother. But what I am is I'm a mindset language coach that really helps empower students with a language learning resiliency toolkit to help them not just survive in a language, but to thrive in a new
Nice.
language and really to embrace language, like you said, Iman, have fun with it and not take away that fear and that anxiety around, okay, who wants to answer this question first? And people are like nervous and scared. Not me, not me. Like, let's embrace the language. Let's acquire the language and have fun with it. And so with OSL, or on the spot language,
Mhm.
I think this is the new ESL. And oh, we got Teacher Paul saying hello. Thank you, Teacher Paul. Good to see you, brother. And so I think OSL is the new ESL. And I honestly feel that experiential language immersion,
Mhm.
and building community, and having the right mindset of how to approach a language can make all the difference wherever you are in the
Yep.
world.
That's awesome. How did you get started with OSL? You founded this, right? The program, the modules, the tools. You're the founder. How did you come to developing OSL, coming up with OSL?
Yeah, great question. It was by me getting laid off. Like, and
Okay,
there you go. Anytime you get knocked down, that's the best time when something good is coming right around the
that's
corner.
true.
And I was head teacher of a language school for 5 years here in Toronto.
Hmm.
I was managing teachers, running several classes, and the governing board,
Hmm.
Languages Canada, said in order to be a qualified teacher,
Hmm.
you have to have your TESOL certificate and a university degree.
Hmm.
I don't have a university degree,
Oh dear. Okay.
right? And exactly, oh dear, right? So suddenly the head teacher of the school is no longer qualified. Hmm,
Ah.
interesting. But you hear I had,
Mm-hmm.
7 years of experience of teaching at the time, but so I'm suddenly deemed not qualified.
Not qualified.
Prior to that,
Uh-huh.
I was living in Taiwan, where I was just vagabonding and just traveling around Southeast Asia as many foreigners do. But I had a 2-year multimedia design uh, diploma from a college here in Toronto. And
Mm-hmm.
that's all I had to my name. That and a TESOL certificate, which I did in a couple weeks, one of those quick programs. Um, and that's all I had. I never set out to teach English.
Right.
I had gone to Taiwan as a way of just having fun, making some money.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, what's the way I can make money? Oh, maybe I can teach
Yeah.
English. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then when I got laid off, Iman, I go, well, geez, I can't get a job in multimedia
Mm-hmm.
anymore. What
Mm-hmm.
am I gonna do? Well, how have I learned languages?
Right.
Maybe there's something to, because when I was teaching in the classroom, you know, and we would take students outside on these after school activities, right?
Yep.
And it's
Yep.
like
Yep.
it was herding students to these different locations, but it wasn't like any language that was being practiced or used in context.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this is the CN Tower, the tallest freestanding tower in the world. Oh, good, nice. I go, why are we here? You know what? What if we were asking people, if we could ask people, the CN Tower, what does CN stand for?
Yeah.
Okay, you know what, guys? You guys go ask 20 people, excuse me, I'm international student studying English in Toronto, and part of my homework is to ask people, what does CN stand for?
Mm-hmm.
It was like Canadian National, Canadian National, Canadian National. But what exactly is Canadian National? Oh, it's the
Right.
name of the railroad. The railroad company gave money to build this. And see how you saw your face, right? It's like, oh, I can
Yeah.
guarantee you that maybe many people, even in Toronto or even as immigrants, they don't even know. They just know the
Right.
CN Tower,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but they're like, oh, you mean it's named after the Canadian National Railway, which goes across Canada? And it was originally used as a satellite tower for radio
Right.
signals. Right. Oh, that's good to
Right.
know. And suddenly, that's comprehensible input. They're getting all
That's
this input from all these different sources and people.
mhm.
And now it's interesting.
Yep.
Right. So I said, well, you know what? This is how I've traveled. I've traveled to 30 plus countries. I've lived all over the world. I'm genuinely curious.
Mm-hmm.
And people say curiosity killed the cat. In some instances, yes. In my case, it's only ever worked for me. I was like, ooh, John McGraw, who is he talking to? Iman? Well, I better message Iman. I'm very curious about this amazing woman
That's
and
how
all
we
the
got
good work
connected,
she's
isn't it? It
doing.
was after I spoke to John.
Yeah, he didn't even
Yeah.
introduce me to you. And
Right.
he's a
Right.
good friend of mine. We do the
Mm-hmm.
Ego Education podcast
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
together with our teacher friend, teacher Paul. And I said, well, you know what? I got to reach out to her. I'm curious. I want to know more about this woman, Iman, and what she's doing, all the great work she's doing. So curiosity has only led me to opportunity. So
I love that. Oh,
I decided to start my own program based on how I've learned. It's like, what if I could take the students outside
yeah.
and really immersing themselves
Mm-hmm.
in the city, and let's just get them talking to so many people, but listening and hearing. Not everybody sounds like Iman and Anish,
That's
because
true.
we speak in a certain way, in
Yes,
a
we do.
certain, so that you can understand us. But you
Exactly.
talk to every person outside, you've got the Filipino, a Vietnamese, an Indian woman, you got people from China, you got everyone from all over the world here in Toronto. So I don't want you to get comfortable with my accent and the way
Yeah.
I
I
speak.
love that.
I need you to get comfortable with every other person out there and get used to training your ear.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can guarantee you, in the first week of our program, Iman, we do something called navigating.
Mm-hmm.
You go to any city, you have to know how to get around the city.
That's true. You
So
need
you
to
go,
adapt.
yeah, you get to the airport. Where would I find the nearest subway station or the nearest bus stop? Is there one around here? How long does it take to get there? Is it walking distance? Is it
Mm-hmm.
walking distance? Oh, you mean
Yeah.
it's about a 5 minute. So if you ask people, where would I find blank? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
head straight and hang a left. Well, Anish, and I'm with them as a language coach, one of our language
Yeah.
coaches. Anish, what exactly does head mean?
Right.
Oh, head means, you head forward. You
Yeah.
go
You
in the
go there.
direction of your head. You're going somewhere. Just head
Mm-hmm.
this way because you're
Mm-hmm.
following the direction of your head. Head north, head straight. And
Yeah.
then hang. What do you mean hang? What am I hanging, Anish? Oh, you're hanging a left. Then they talk to the next person. Where would I find? Is it around here? Oh,
Yeah.
just head straight and make a left. But Anish, how do you make? I can make a cookie, or I can make.
Yeah.
How do I make a? How
Yeah.
do I
Yeah.
make a left? But imagine asking that same question to 300 people.
Mm-hmm.
How much comprehensible input are you getting to it? Wait a minute. I don't need to study the word head, how to spell it,
Yeah.
anything. But if 80% of the people keep using the word head, I'm gonna get,
You're gonna make
and they're
sense of it.
pointing, I'm gonna get
Yeah.
it.
You're
Right?
gonna make sense of it. Yeah.
Head east, head east, or hang. Oh, make a right, make a right, make
Yeah.
a left.
Yeah.
Oh,
Eventually, it's gonna make sense.
I'm getting it. I
Yeah.
haven't learned how to spell it.
I
I
love
don't know
that.
the grammatical structure to any of this. All I know is head means go,
No.
hang,
Yep.
hang and make mean turn.
Turn.
All right. Great. Week 1, you never have to do directions again. You get it
Yeah.
for the rest of your life,
That's so cool.
right?
That's so
So,
cool. I'm gonna pause you there for just a little while because there are two things I want to do. I want to hit the comments. I'm gonna
sure.
hit the comments just to acknowledge the people who have just joined us. And there are four things actually that you've mentioned that I really want to just go on.
I
Okay,
love it.
so we've got, yeah, teacher Paul, right? He says hi Miss Iman, hi Mr. Anish, just call me Iman. So hi, and thank you so much for joining us. Yep. And yes, he says, yeah, Anish got fired but stood up for himself. So yes, so you are definitely the perfect guest to start my 2022. Stand up for yourself. Things will happen, things will happen in our lives. We get,
Mm.
the best things happen, the worst things happen. Eventually we have to stand up for ourselves.
And
Nesri,
things happen, and things happen for you, not to you, right?
yeah, it happens. Actually, it does. It happens for a reason. It
There
happens
you go.
for us. Yep. And Nazrik says, hello, Iman and Anesh. Looking forward to learn from this session. We thank you for joining us. And he continues on to say that he was laid off from his job a couple of years ago due to COVID. Yep. And he was a blessing in disguise. So, yep. Cool.
Beautiful.
Teacher Paul continues on to say, curiosity might kill cats, but it definitely kills ignorance. Definitely.
Love
Definitely.
it.
It's so cool. Awesome. Thank you so much
Awesome.
for joining us. Anyone else, if you're here with us, if you've just joined us, drop us a hello, and just you can send in your questions. You can just uh comment based on whatever the Anish is sharing with us, and that'll be really, really awesome. So four things that you mentioned that I really love. Three is how you take your students outside in order for them to be able to get comfortable. I love that because one of the things I normally hear that people say about what they fear about English is that they are afraid that they don't sound a certain way. That's what I normally hear. And as I shared with you before we went on live, especially here in Malaysia, because typically when a student or a person is exposed to English, it's through cartoons and movies that are not from Malaysia itself. So it's always cartoons or movies that come from um, America or
Mm.
the UK. So there is a certain accent that they start listening to, and they immediately have this notion that I have to speak like that before I can speak in English. And that is
Mm.
wrong. That,
Mm.
like you said, you've got your accent, I've got mine. And the other billions of people who speak English, they've got their own way of speaking. But the main point here is so that we understand each other. It's not the accent. So thanks for bringing that up. Thank
Absolutely.
you so much for bringing that up. Cool. That's
And
really cool.
and I think that's the crux of it all is just anxiety and this nervousness and this stress that's built around, you know, I honestly, Iman, I spend half of our time in my program, in our 8-week intensive program, where our students talk to literally thousands of strangers in 8 weeks every day for 8 weeks.
Hmm.
half of our job is spent in the unlearning process
Right.
because things have been
Beautiful.
ingrained in the way the language has been taught to them, has been really just drilled. And I was like, and
Yeah.
they're constantly thinking, oh, wait a minute. So, and you need to get them out of their
Out
head,
of that. Yeah.
right? And this is why in my chapter in my book, it's learning the language from the outside in, but really, I having been doing things online, it's really from the inside out now. That's how even though the whole program is outside, I'm like, no, it starts
Yeah.
inside here,
Correct. Yeah.
right? And so if we can tackle this and take away all of those, like, one of the great things that we do in our programs, every day we do daily affirmations,
Yep.
just setting your day up. You know what? In visualizing people smiling and having great conversations and imagining yourself, visualizing yourself enjoying speaking to someone that you've never met. And a stranger is really just a friend you haven't met
Yeah.
yet,
Yeah.
right?
That's true. That's true.
And so take kind of mindset or training that kind of mindset. It's like, you know what? You're not going to die by asking someone, where would I find the nearest bank? Or even better, Iman, let's
Mm-hmm.
share more love and gratitude and compliment people. You know what? I
Mm-hmm.
know. Let's build complimenting into my program. And it is. Because every language that I've learned, one of the
Mm-hmm.
first things I do
Mm-hmm.
is how to show gratitude
Yeah.
and share something nice. I was like, first thing I said was like, I love your background. I love your beautiful living room. She's like, it's not real, but you know what? It's this idea of, does it hurt you to compliment someone?
That's a
What's
great
the
concept.
what's the worst that can happen by
Yeah. Yeah.
complimenting someone?
Yeah.
And you know what?
Mm-hmm.
We've had students get rejected from, oh, I really like your dress. Get away, you stupid pervert. What are you talking about?
So how do
Or
they handle that then?
right. And this is the second part. When you talk about building resilient language learners,
Right.
and developing that idea like we do with our kids,
Mm-hmm.
grit, you know, let's
Mm-hmm.
embrace failure. Let's have fun with this. You know what? Failing is a good thing,
Yep.
you know, and that's so tough for so many people to get or grasp
That's
the understanding that, let's build brave, resilient global citizens, and you know, nana korobi yaoki in Japanese means fall down 7 times, get up 8.
mm-hmm.
And that's an expression that they use. But I love quotes, and for me, when I learn language, I also love to learn quotes and compliment
Yeah.
people and share gratitude. But that's
Yeah.
my own intrinsic motivation. But um, complimenting people, you know what? Let's share love. Let's share gratitude. Why not? What are you grateful for?
Mm-hmm.
That's actually built into our program. Going out and asking people, what are you grateful for?
That's so cool.
I mean, why not?
Yeah.
I can't remember
I
what
love
the
what you
question
said.
was.
That, yeah, because like, there are, of course, if you suddenly go to a stranger and you start complimenting them, you start saying nice things about them, not everybody can take it.
Right.
Not everybody will be able to accept it. And I love how that process helps build, like you said, resilience and grit. And that, see, there's nothing wrong with failing. There's nothing wrong with failure. And that I think just human nature, naturally, people don't want to fail. And so because also of that fear of failing, it holds people back from
Very
doing
much
certain
so.
things. But failing actually pushes us forward, because then we're going to have to find a way, how are we going to get past this? How are we going to fix this if we have to? How are we going to overcome this? How do I make sure it doesn't happen again? So
Right.
that's building resilience. And how am I going to do this the next time around?
Absolutely.
That's
So
really cool.
it makes so much sense. If what if we could teach students to fail early, fail often, and there's many books are titled "Fail Forward," right? What if we could make failure an expected part of the learning process?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm going to fail. I taught my daughter the Rubik's cube. you know, 2 years ago, I had no idea how to do it,
Mm-hmm.
but she already had the idea that this was not going to be learned in an hour, and she was
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
take many. It basically takes 5 algorithms. Daddy, what's an
Mm-hmm.
algorithm? It's just a systematic way of doing several
Solving it. Yeah.
processes, and
There's a way
you'll
to
get it.
solve
And
it.
they're like, there are 5 algorithms. So maybe if I learn one algorithm a week, I'll have it just over a month. Yeah,
Months. Yeah.
but it's not going to be easy, but it'll be fun because they'll have competitions. We'll make it enjoyable. And now she takes it to school and she's doing the Rubik's Cube with people.
That's so cool.
People say, "How's a 9-year-old doing that?" I go, how,
Yeah,
why can't she? How is she not
why
able
not?
to
Yeah,
do it,
why
right?
not?
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's really from what you've shared, I also feel like it's really important that people understand that it's okay to fail. It's really okay to fail. And even when it comes to learning a language, it's okay to make mistakes because
Yeah.
that's just the natural way that we learn anything to begin with. So yeah,
And I think when you're doing it in a safe space, it's good, which is why when we don't just send students out into the deep end, okay, go and do
of
it.
course.
Our
Okay.
language coaches are with them
Yeah, yeah.
throughout this process. We've had students cry in our first week of our program because this is so new to
It's
them.
new
The
to them. Yeah.
concept is so,
Hmm.
what do you mean I'm going to talk to strangers? Don't worry. I'm with you. And what do? We role model. I have
Yeah,
to show them.
yeah. So you got to do it first.
And that's why actually many of my language coaches have been actually the best language coaches have not been the traditional stand-up teachers with the
Yeah,
PhDs and masters. They've been
yeah.
actors,
Hmm. Mm.
actors,
Hmm.
because the city is their stage.
Yeah, yeah.
Their
And you
their
got to do it. So you
intonation, their
kind of have to act it
reflectors.
out.
They
Yeah,
understand how the voice works. They
yeah.
they know how to use the body language,
Hmm.
right? And they're not scared of talking to strangers. If anything, they relish it. All
Yep, talking
right.
to strangers. That's true. That's so cool. Okay, quick pause. Quick pause. Just to go back to the comments, we've got a few more people who have joined us. We've got Rizal Aziz on LinkedIn who says yellow, yellow to you too.
Hello.
And Tirath Prasad says hi Anish. Okay, and Teacher Paul
Namaste.
says happy New Year, Tirath Iman. Tirath is an amazing teacher in Nepal. Oh hi, Teacher Tirath. Welcome, welcome, all the way from Nepal. This is so amazing. Cool. Thank you for joining us. Right. I
Yay.
want to ask you something
Sure.
further again to what you've shared. When students come to you and they share with you that they want to learn the language, they want to acquire the skill to speak the language. What are some of the challenges that they share with you? Or well, maybe some of the challenges that you notice that they have before they begin. What probably stops them from speaking to strangers or to speak in English? What are some of those challenges?
The first and foremost one you've touched on is the mindset. I mean,
Yeah.
the traditional way of how they've been taught to learn a language, or that they're learning for a test score, right?
Oh my
Or they're
God.
learning to achieve a certain grade or a
Right. Oh,
rubric. They're working on a rubric, you
yeah.
know? And so the unlearning process is part of
Mm-hmm.
it. So taking away the traditional way that they've been taught. Culture is always a big one. But
Mm-hmm.
Bill, what is Canadian culture also? And that's an interesting
Oh, that's
question,
okay.
because really it's just a mosaic of many cultures that are just
Mm-hmm.
thriving together,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone's speaking a global English, you know.
Right.
And so sometimes the person least understood is the British person who's using all these idiomatic expressions and slang, and no one's getting what he's saying,
Mm-hmm.
but everyone else can understand each other in the room. It's interesting. So culture, confidence is a huge thing that we've talked about, right? Is
Yeah.
how do we get them comfortable with the uncomfortable, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How do we get them out of that comfort zone?
Yeah.
And like we said, how do we get them to enjoy failing forward?
Oh, yeah.
It's okay. And you know the biggest thing, as many things that I can say students learn from our program, the biggest thing they learn is that
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize people are so kind. I
Ah,
go, that's there are good and
that
bad
is part
people
of the
wherever
lesson,
you
isn't
go.
it?
There are good and bad people wherever you go. But the
That's true.
vast majority, if you have the right mindset and approach, and you come
Mm-hmm.
with it with a good intention
Mm-hmm.
and you have an attitude of gratitude, as I
Mm-hmm.
say,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna like attracts like, right?
Like, yeah, yeah.
So you're gonna bring that energy towards yourself. So they're like, Anish, and we have things called action sheets, where students
Okay.
actually have to keep track of how many strangers they talk to and
Oh,
the kinds of conversations they had. In that conversation, did you compliment them? Yep, check.
right.
Did you
Okay.
ask for directions? Yep, check.
All right.
Did you ask them, are they on social media or Instagram? No, that's up to the student's choice. If they're big Instagrams, yep, check. Some of them don't.
Okay.
Like, I don't want
So
to share
there's
my
that
personal
checklist.
information. No way.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ask them what their favorite food is or the nearest, Tim Hortons coffee shop is? Did you do certain things within that conversation? They actually keep track of what
Right.
kinds of conversation, and then they can actually see a pie graph. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I use mostly these kinds. Maybe this is what I really like talking about.
Right.
Oh, so maybe this is my intrinsic. Maybe I should keep doing that
That. Yeah.
because that's what I like. That's what
Mm-hmm.
motivates me. That's what I seem to really enjoy learning about. So let
Mm-hmm.
me keep doing that. So, and then the whole imposter syndrome. I'm not good enough, or who am I to be able to speak? And it's not
Yeah.
perfect. And oh my goodness, just so part of our job as language coach is like, what's fun for you? What's
Yeah.
enjoyable for you? What's really interesting for you? Iman loves reading and she loves writing, so that's her motivation. She wants to share. Now she's sharing her voice through these amazing interviews, but she genuinely loves writing, and her real feeling and character comes out in the words that she puts on paper or on the computer. She types out, and
Mm-hmm.
and that's a great way for you expressing yourself. But you love doing that. You
Yeah.
enjoy doing that, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say those were some of the biggest things: is the culture, the
Mm-hmm.
confidence, the mindset, the imposter
Yeah. That's
syndrome,
number one.
all of those things. Um,
Right on time, Teacher Paul asked, Iman, what challenges do your learners encounter? I was just about to touch on this. The
nice.
challenges that Anesh has shared is the same as the challenges that my learners also face. Number one is mindset, especially because here in Malaysia or in the Asian countries, English is a second language, and for some of them, it's even their third language. So the first problem is mindset, and also very very similar to what you said, Anesh. The way that English is introduced to us as second speakers of the language is in school. Number one, in school, and it starts with rules, grammar. You need to do this, you need to do that, you have to know this, you have to know that, you have to write like this, you have to write like that. But there's not much exposure to acquiring the language as a skill. There's
Mm,
not much exposure to speaking the language. So imagine going through 6 to 15 years of formal education, learning rules and more rules, pile it up, and you need to get an A for you to get to
mm,
these kind of institutions, for you to go and study abroad, you need to get an A. So that's all people, the masses, people, most of them strive for. Like, I need to get an A. But then when it comes to having to speak the language, then they get stumped because all I've
mm,
ever learned was how to write it or how to use it, not even use it, how to write it, how to get an A with it, but never really how to speak it, how to express it.
right.
And so it screws up with their mindset. So
Mm,
that's where I have to speak perfect English comes in. I got to speak with a certain accent, mindset comes in. I need to speak it correctly. What if people laugh at me? What if people put me down for speaking in English? For me, and this comes back to something you said in the beginning of the session, of the live session just now. You went back to thinking of how you learned the language. So if I look back at how I learned the language, I got the exposure when I was at home from when I was a young girl. So even when school gave me the rules or taught me to get an A, I already had that balance of acquiring the language as a skill and learning the mechanics of the language. So then I just had to put both together. But that's not the case for everyone. Most, especially Malaysians, most of them learn the language at school, and it starts with the technical parts of it before actually understanding. that it's important to acquire the language as a skill. So the biggest challenge is still mindset, that fear towards the language. Like I have to speak a certain way, I have to know certain things before I can speak. And it's pretty much the same thing.
Ay, absolutely.
And
Yeah,
there's
it's
a lot of unlearning to be done. There's the process of getting them to
mm,
unlearn and learn the natural way of learning the language. That's the biggest challenge. For me
yeah.
as a teacher and as a trainer and a coach, that's my biggest challenge. And it's also challenging for them to unlearn. Like, oh, but when I was in school, I was taught this way and that way. Yeah, but that didn't work, did it now? So you're gonna
Right.
have to learn that and you're gonna have to learn it in a different way now. So yeah, teacher Paul, it's pretty much the same challenges.
It's universally the brain in everybody, as much as we have multiple intelligence, but when language is acquired, it's
Mm,
it's fairly universal. A lot of the same, I mean, everyone faces their own struggles internally, right? And so a lot of our program is actually built on, like I said, developing these resilient learners to be
mm,
able to navigate, the city in a way that is fun and exciting for them,
yeah,
as opposed to a traditional based sit down classroom
yeah,
where, and oxygen flows to the brain when we're in movement.
that's true.
If we're constantly in a state of just sitting down,
Hmm.
students are,
Yeah,
they,
yeah, yeah.
we gotta
There's
move
no
our bodies.
stimulation, there's nothing exciting. So what's gonna get them moving? What's gonna get them interested? That's so true.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
um so yeah,
How?
there
Yeah.
truly is a new paradigm of education coming up, and these are exciting times right now.
Mhm.
um and so I'm excited to see where things are going to go from here.
How have you had to transition? Because now you make the
Mhm.
city your classroom with the whole pandemic and not being able to go out, restricted interactions. How
Mhm.
have you transitioned over the last 2 years?
I'm not gonna lie. I
Mm.
broke down when the pandemic hit.
Okay.
So like the whole nature of my program, the borders are
Yeah,
closed. My students are
yeah,
all international students. What's gonna happen?
yeah.
Um, where am I gonna get my students from? Like my partner said, well, you have 12 years since you've started your business.
Hmm.
What are all these students doing back in their country now?
Mm.
Because usually once they finish our program, because our goal is to develop autonomous learners. After
Hmm.
you finish our program, you know how
What to do?
you best learn. You don't
Yeah,
need me anymore.
yeah.
But the reality
Hmm.
is when they do go back to their country, life and society and the
Yeah.
new back cultural norms, everything kind of come back, and they're like, and they kind of fall out of that. And they don't have the opportunities to
Ah.
use their English. Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
so set up Zoom calls every week with previous students. Say, hey, how you doing? What's new?
Hmm.
Do you still? And they're like, Anish, I miss you, or we miss on the spot language. And I said, well, you know what? I can't help you. Sorry, I don't know what to do. And one day, Iman, one of my students, Miho, she was a registered nurse
Hmm.
in Tokyo University Hospital, and she said,
Hmm.
Anish, I'm in quarantine.
Hmm.
I might die, and I don't think I'll be able to get through this because I might have COVID. And this is the early stages of it.
All right.
And I'm thinking of killing myself.
Oh dear. Okay.
I'm like, number one, I am not a qualified professional to be able to have this conversation. I can
Okay.
recognize and know I'm a language coach. I'm
Yeah.
not a
Yeah.
psychotherapist. I'm
Yeah.
not. And she's like, I don't know what to do. And I should go,
Hmm.
I appreciate you reaching out to me, that you felt you could trust and you had that safe space to reach out to ask for help. I go, I don't know what to do. I'm stuck in this
Hmm.
dormitory for doctors and I just don't know what to do. And I go, and again, forgetting about English altogether right now. And she's like, I'm like, what do I do every day? Well, I do affirmations every day. I do
Right.
daily gratitude. I do a gratitude journal. I always
Hmm.
give myself a score. What was the best part of my day? What was the most
Right.
challenging part of my day? What can I do better for tomorrow? And I
Right.
said, you know what? What about, why don't we incorporate some breath work and, just start doing like yoga, breath work, and something. I don't know what I'm doing, but this stuff works for me.
Hmm.
Maybe it
Might
might
work for
work
her.
for her. And she started doing it every day.
Mhm.
She ended up
Mhm.
leaving her quarantine better than she had gone going into it.
Oh, good for her.
And she's like, I'm going to keep doing this for the rest of my life. And I go, oh, okay. I'm glad I was able to help. And so what I've been able to do, Iman, is after that moment, again, everything happens for us. I said, well,
Mhm.
what if I could help these students improve their lives? Not just forget
Mhm.
about English, their
Mhm.
relationships, their life at work, their daily
Mhm.
routines. What if they were to do all these affirmations and gratitude? They should be doing this in their own language.
Yeah.
But what if they could do it in English?
English. Yeah.
So I had students starting reading out their affirmations every day. Like they lived and breathed the language, like you said, these moments, right?
Mhm.
These moments, as you call them, throughout the day. What am I doing? What am I doing? But imagine about what you're outputting and sharing is are words of affirmations. I mean, I even brought these are my daughter's daily
Oh,
affirmations.
that's so
You know,
nice.
that she does. I am strong. I am. Well, don't worry about the spelling of beautiful, but
It's all
it's
right.
cute. I am nice. I am fun. I am super, and I love myself. Right. But
Yeah.
what if I could get my students to write these down and read them every day? And just have this attitude of gratitude and this mindset of just that. So actually, their lives have just improved. I'm no longer
Mhm.
a language. I'm a life coach, maybe, but I'm
You
doing it all in
transitioned by
English.
accident, didn't you?
Right. So I'm like, let's just build resilient global human beings. Like this is,
Mhm.
and so language again is just a tool
Yeah.
to build bridges, break barriers, but look internally and become more resilient learners and enjoy the process and just make it part of your lifestyle.
That
So
was amazing.
thanks. I've just been able to apply and do that. And
Mhm.
if you do it in a supportive way, and again, we do many things like this is something that we do online. We call these, I don't know if you could see it, but this is like a converse, mind mapping.
Okay. Yep. Yep. Looks
So
like a mind map.
imagine this is a massive conversation mind map.
Mhm.
Students do this individually, but we also do it virtually as well, digitally. So imagine this is about 8 hours of conversation. And a student can reach out into their conversation mind map and talk about any one of these
Mm.
topics at any given moment. How
Wow.
powerful is that to have in your
That's
toolkit?
amazing.
Right. And that's also built into our program, but I was able to create this digitally for students. So if they're talking about TV dramas
Mhm.
or famous quotes, or hey, how many jokes do you know any good jokes? Joking is built into our program. Learning how to tell jokes is built
Yeah.
into our program. Why?
Yeah.
Because making people smile is a good thing. It's
Yeah.
it's it's enjoyable to see people smile.
That's true.
So if you're sitting at a table, one of our students got their dream job by telling a joke.
Oh, wow.
It's a massive pharmacy company, about
Uh-huh.
1,000 people lined up for the interview,
Mhm.
and I had to kind of push the student, just go and apply. And she went in and she did the interview, and she noticed the guy had a bunch of hockey posters
Okay.
and a picture of his son on the desk. And she's
Okay.
like, "Hey, you like hockey? I have a joke for you." He's like, "This is an interview. What are you doing?"
Mhm.
This is a Japanese woman, telling a joke in an interview. You must be crazy. She's
Mhm.
like, "Why did the boy climb the tree with a hockey stick?" And she said it exactly like that with the body language. He goes, "Well, I
Okay.
don't know why." She's like, "To play with the maple leaves."
Oh dear God.
And
That's
the
a good one.
and the Toronto Maple Leafs is the name of the Toronto NHL hockey team.
Mhm.
So not only did she make a culturally relevant joke, but she made the guy smile. Guess who got the job?
She got the job.
Because she stood out and she had the confidence to tell a joke and make herself have fun at the
Yeah.
interview. And you
That's
can't do it all the
amazing.
time, but you judge the atmosphere and everything else. But
Yeah, you have to really know when to use it. Yeah. Yeah.
but that
She
was in
knew
her
when to
mind
use
map.
it.
That was in her
Yeah,
mind map, right? So
that's amazing. That's really amazing. That's really amazing. I love how yeah, it's about having fun. That's what learning the language is about, because we need it as as a tool, like you said, as a tool, just to bridge any gaps that there are in communication and things like that. So it's all about having fun when we learn the language, and also when we speak the language. It's not supposed to be something stressful. I need to get this right, I need to get that right. If I say this, will that sound right? If I say that, will people laugh at me? It's not about that. It's really just having fun learning it and having fun using it to connect. That's really
absolutely.
awesome. Just a quick one back to the comments, yeah? Teacher Paul, thank you so much for still being here with us, and everything you're saying. Yeah, sounds like the education system needs some reform. Not some, I'd say a lot, if not a total reform. I'm totally with you on that. So it's an uphill battle,
Well,
definitely. And he
mm,
continues to say that, Anesh, maybe your calling extends beyond language. I'm starting to think so too. Maybe your work is actually life coaching. Yeah, we never know.
I
We never
mean,
know. Depending
I've
on as we
spoken to
cut
teacher
along.
Paul before, and I mean, obviously, the education system hasn't completely failed us because we are where we are, and we are how we got to where we are, partly because of that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we can't put all the blame there, but you know, a big part of it and how it's approached and everything else,
Yeah,
there has to be some changes. But
the
you know,
approach has to change.
right. So,
Yeah,
it's we are products of our own education system, believe it or not,
that's
for
very
the
true.
all the good and bad.
That's very true. Right. I'm just checking in on time. Um,
Yes.
because we're already coming towards the end. I have a question for you. I have a
Sure.
question. Hopefully to inspire our listeners. From your own experience, for someone who's learning the language English, is it easier to speak or practice speaking the language with a stranger, someone they don't know, or someone that they do know, a family member or friends? Just from your experience looking at learners, especially for learners who are learning to speak English as a second language.
Yeah. I
Is it
would say
easier to speak to a stranger or someone that they know?
I would go as far as even just talking to yourself is a good thing, in the mirror, forget about anyone else. I mean, I talk to myself all the time in many languages. I even
Yes,
ask myself questions. So if I
yeah,
were to
yeah.
pick one end of the spectrum, it would be that. But I would say if you can find a community, I don't care if it's on WhatsApp or
Mhm.
Iman's community that she's developed or is developing, any community where you can just meet and connect with not just people, but maybe like-minded people with similar
Mhm.
interest as you know,
Right.
even if you're just talking about, manga, you're not going to even realize you're learning because you're talking about, you're sharing, you're inputting all things that you want to hear, and
Mhm.
you're going to constantly hear certain vocabulary around certain manga or different kinds of storylines or whatever you're doing. Like, find your interests, find your passions, find your hobbies, and just
Yeah.
dive into that, and then work on having deeper conversations sometimes, not just surface level conversations. One of our students, she just loves shopping, and
Mm.
shopping is built into our program. I go, you know what you're going to do? You're going to go into every store, ask people, what are your hours? Oh, what about on Sunday? Are you closed on
Mhm.
holidays? Are there any sales going on? When's the sale
Mhm.
going to end? What's your return policy? Is it in-store credit or return only? Or is it cash back? Guess what? She got a job in Hollywood. She was visiting LA, and she went to every store up and down. She ended up just connecting with one of the people there, and they're like, you know what? We're actually looking for a Japanese woman to be part of our
Oh.
cosmetic line and to share that some of the Japanese products. Are you be interested? Dream job. But she went, how many stores did she go in and
Yeah.
out of that? But again, she had that intrinsic motivation.
Mm.
She loves shopping. She loves when she walks into her store, she's like, this is my classroom. Here we go. And she's complimenting. She ended up getting a family and friends discount at a
Oh,
famous,
wow.
brand store just because she
Mhm.
connected with the salesperson. Hey, you know what? You can be my
Wow.
cousin. You can be my cousin from Japan. It's okay. You can come on family and friends. And she's like, and I'm like,
So she
oh,
got it.
And like, I made a list of what I wanted. I'm like, oh, can you get me this, this? And I was like, oh, great.
Might
Um,
as well.
but
Might as
again,
well.
when you make the situation, the city, not forget about even the classroom, just make
Mhm.
it your playground, you know?
Yeah.
I'm changing my
Change that.
tagline.
Your playground. I'm gonna change that now.
There you go.
I'm gonna edit
Uh,
that now. So make your city your playground. Yeah, because it's all about having fun.
yeah,
There you
absolutely.
go. Make your city your playground. And yeah, so
Beautiful.
it's so really it's not really about talking to strangers or family members or friends, but it's talking to like-minded people and talking about things that that you and that other person are both interested in. So
Mm,
we create a conversation based on that and have fun with it.
yeah, because when, like I said, when you're in that flow and you're
Mm-hmm,
learning subconsciously, you
mm-hmm.
know, it just you're learning. And so when you're forced to learn something and you're filled with
Mm-hmm.
anxiety and stress,
It's tough. Yeah, it's
keep
tough.
me away from that.
That's true.
Um,
That's true. That's
which
really
is,
amazing.
yeah,
Another quick one by Teacher Paul. Maybe it's really on the spot life coaching. In the sense that life coach says on the spot, yeah, and you teach your learners how to be resilient when it does. That's really cool. Maybe something to think about. It's amazing what the
awesome.
pandemic has done. I think uh,
Yeah,
I think it's helped a lot of people really see what they can achieve. In your case as well, what you can achieve, what else you can achieve, and what else you can give to people. So, like you said, things always happen for us. Always happens for a reason.
beautiful.
That's really
And
awesome. Wow, Anesh, this has been amazing. You've shared so much. I've got a whole page of things that you've shared with me, and I'm gonna write about it as well. So a
awesome.
write-up's gonna come about this, as if not this week, probably next week.
Love
Do you
it.
have any final advice or last words for anyone around the globe who want to learn English, want to embrace the language and acquire it as a tool? What would be your advice to them? Aside from all the golden nuggets that you have already shared with us tonight, what would you say?
Um, I would say know your why. And I know that's kind of,
Mhm.
cliche now, but like if you are going abroad, what is your why? If it's just to de-stress and get away from society and just connect with strangers, great. If it's to, I have had students say, Anish, I want to find a Canadian husband.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I said,
Okay.
okay. 6 months
Okay.
later, she's married.
To a
Because
Canadian.
she visualized, she had
Wow.
clear in her mind her why am I here, what kind of
Right.
language am I going to use to have deeper, more meaningful conversations with someone, not to get in bed with them, but to
Yeah.
to
To have a
connect
life
with
with them.
them,
Yeah.
so that she could connect with the boyfriend's parents and the
Right.
grandparents and have and learn, because a big part of our program is history, and she's like, I want to be able to connect the history with parents and parents. And so she was able to find ways of connecting with her boyfriend and now her husband, right? So know your why. And I think
Hmm.
usually as a language coach, to be honest, students have no idea what their why is,
Yeah.
and part of our job is to kind of dig a
Bring
little
it out.
deeper and bring
Yeah.
it
Ask
out,
questions and bring it out of them. Yeah.
one of
That's
our
true.
students, and that you mentioned, I appreciate you mentioning this before. It's like one of our students, he actually came out that he was gay,
Mm.
right? And I shared that in my book. One of
Hmm.
the stories is he didn't realize why he came to Toronto, but maybe part of it was to come out.
Probably. Mm.
And he
That's
ended up
amazing.
doing it in our program in the
Yeah.
busiest, like, Times
Right.
Square area in Toronto called Nathan Phillips Square. And he's like, everybody, I am gay. And it's just
Oh
like,
dear God.
it was such a moment for him, but it was like a release.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Forget about learning English.
mm-hmm.
He actually, came to do some personal development and love himself more. And so, you know, and sometimes you don't know your why. Sometimes
Yeah.
it kind of comes to you,
Yeah.
and certain things happen. But I said, failing forward, getting used to failing, I think that would be the biggest thing, and just and relish it, have fun with it.
Yeah.
How can that be the new part of this education where students are bragging, ooh, guess how many times I failed today? Oh no, I really, oh, you got me beat, you know
Yeah.
so I think
Love
that would
that.
be the biggest advice I would give.
Cool. So know your big why and be okay with failing forward.
Yeah, there you
Awesome.
go.
That's
Beautiful.
cool. Thank you so, so much. Anish, for being with me, for starting off my year. Really, really awesome
Yeah.
for the show. And thank you so much for everyone who has tuned in, and to everyone who will tune in later, watch the replay. So this is us signing off. You can connect with Anish on LinkedIn, or is there anywhere else or any way else that they can connect with you other than on LinkedIn?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have hundreds of videos on YouTube of our students, not me talking, but our students actually using the language and sharing stories. The storytelling
Mhm.
is very powerful. Facebook, Instagram, just on the spot language, everything on the spot language. And if you go to anishdaya.com, you can find a link to our international best-selling book in 15 countries, A New Paradigm of Education, which I co-wrote with 7 other educators, all female, by the way.
Aha!
Um, and so I'm
The only
proud to
thorn
be
among
the.
roses.
There you go.
Awesome.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Thank you
you
so
can
much,
connect
Iman.
with Anesh over on all those platforms, Anesh himself or OSL. So thank you once again. So many amazing things that you've shared, and to all my viewers, I hope you've been able to pick up a thing or two about what you can do to acquire the language, have fun with it, and know why you're learning it, so that you can have fun while you're learning the language. Okay, so that's it. This is us signing off. All right. I'll see you again at the next show. Anesh, thank you so much. Good luck with your day. I'm gonna go to bed because it's 10:21 at night in the evening here. So all the best with your day. Everyone for tuning in. Thank you so much. Have a good day, everybody. I'll see you again.
Bye.
Bye.